there, sweet friends. I hope you are all well. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new. We're going to work on a folio today with a Valentine inspiration, and I do like to go back over projects that we have previously made and see if there's room for improvement. And so that might look like easier measurements, that might look like increased functionality, or maybe you're just making it more sturdy. And so we're going to hit two of those marks today with this folio. I have removed some of the measurements and I have increased how nice and sturdy this is. It's still really easy to make, and this is going to be great for Valentine's or really any holiday or theme that you have in mind. Just switch out your cardstock and your images, and I think this will be perfect. So if that sounds good to you, then stick around and we will make it together. For today, I am going to be working with 8.5 by 11 papers. I just get this size because I can get a good quantity of them from Amazon, and I'm not really close to the craft store, so this makes sense to me. But if you have 12 by 12 papers, you'll get a better frugal use out of that. You might just have to adjust the measurements accordingly, but here is the plan to have less measurements. Instead of having the pockets wrap around, I'm just going to glue them. And then, so I'm going to start with my 8.5 by 11 sheet. I'm bringing that to my scoreboard, and the first score I make is at 5.5. And so that is exactly in the middle. I'm going to turn this now so that the short end is on top, and I'll score it at 6. And so that means that our pockets are going to be 2.5 inches deep. That is a pretty good, generous size. So let's fold this over now, right in that center score line. Then I'll turn it back around so that my score line is in the right corner here. And I will bring this right up to that top. It may be a little bit difficult to see, but I'm going to score at 1/8 of an inch. And I'll go down until it will intersect with the other score line. And so this is just going to give us a little bit of clearance for the inside so these pockets do not become super bulky. Now you want to come in and just remove that really small portion that we just created. And so you could use your guillotine cutter or just very carefully nip that out right up to that score line. And now when you open it and fold these over, you can see that you're going to have a little gap there, and you want that so that those pockets don't buckle. It is very helpful as you're working along to take your score tool and just reinforce that score so that you get a nice crisp fold. Okay, so now we have the pockets. We want to have the cover be more sturdy. And so that way it's just going to be a little bit bulkier. And another added bonus will be if you add another layer, you can have a nice clean finished scored edge. And so that's what I want to do here. This piece of paper is 6 inches high by 11 inches wide and scored at 5.5. So once again, right in the middle. And I want to add it to this back cover before I fold up that pocket and seal it. And you would have 2 of these for your folio that we're making today. You will have one for this side, and then the other one I have the additional layers put on the other so that it would be just the outside cover. And so I have already added my double-sided tape here. I will come back in with my 2 glue combo. And then I'll just put this in here. I'll take one side off of that tape so that I can position this and move it around. I can get it right down into that corner, you see. And then press it into place and give that some good pressure. The double-sided tape will hold it in place while the glue sets up. Now, one thing you will notice when adding this second piece is that you did gain just a little bit of room here over the top. So we're going to trim that when we get it done. But now that we have this piece adhered, we can include this over on the side. And so just do that same process of 2 glues. And fold this one over. And now it's a little bit easier to see that there is just a little bit of extra on the top here. So I'm going to bring my guillotine cutter in and just clip that off. So now I have it nice and straight and even across the top. So here is where those pattern papers come in. And I've elected to use some of my stash of Graphic 45. And that's just because I feel like these printables have a nicer, warmer tone, and that would work well with the Graphic 45 because that's very vintagey and a lot warmer. And so I'm going to pull in some of that stash. And I was on the Graphic 45 design team for a couple years. They were very generous, and so I have a lot of extras to work with, and I think these are going to be perfect. Now, these were originally from the 6x6 paper pads, and so the scale is really nice for these smaller projects, and all of the pages here are going to be the same measurement, and so that will make it much faster. The pattern paper is going to be 5 7/8 by 5 3/8. I'm just going to add these first, and then I'll fold that pocket over and it will seal that into there. And so here is a beautiful background pattern. Got one on each side. Then I'll come in with my Tombow and add just a little line of that here along the edge so that I can seal this pocket up. Don't want to get too much so that it squeezes out. And so here we go, having that adhered, creating the pocket. And you would do the same for the other side as well. Just going to hold these in place for the moment, and then when that glue sets up, I will add some pattern paper to the front of those pockets. And so I've just picked a pattern that will work well as layering over top of that background. This is going to be 2 3/8 high by 5 1/4 wide. So you're going to get the nice layer of that pretty cardstock between to keep them separate. This also helps to make that pocket a little sturdier. One for this side as well. Now we have our extra sturdy cover here on the back. I have prepared another one for the front. I believe you could probably add a couple more if you wanted to increase the space that you have inside for all your finishing details, but I think 2 works pretty well for me. And so I have already finished this one with those same measurements and the same technique, and I just need to combine these now with my 2 glue combo. So already we have taken out one of the measurements. That makes it easier, and we've added an extra sturdy cover, and so that makes me very happy, so that this will be a little bit chunkier and nicer. I'm just going to bring those together along the base here. Press it well so that the glue sets up. And I do have my pattern cut for the back, so let's add this. Remember, that's going to be the same measurement as we had for the inside full-size pages. Just getting that positioned. I want to include some trim, of course. I have some beautiful stitched satin ribbon from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and this is a Scarlet color, and this is going to work nicely with those warmer, more vintagey tones. And this stitch satin makes a really lovely bow. So I'm just going to get enough to tie that generous bow and clip it off. Tacking that on with a little bit of my double-sided tape there, and then I did pick the same pattern for the front so that it would just have a nicer, more finished look. Let's put our 2 glues on here as well. And then I also have a contrasting pattern here just so that I can add a little bit of extra detail. It can be hard for me to see when there isn't a lot of contrast, but I think that looks pretty good. So I do want to add my doily. This really helps to break up those busy paper patterns. I'm going to add this just slightly higher than middle, so that I have room for my floral arrangement. And I do have my image printed here, and I've got a border of that same red cardstock. And so this is just going to be up on spacers as well. That way I can build some dimension. You see how pretty the red in that printable is going with the more vintagey inspired paper from Graphic 45. Okay, so that's our focal image. And then I also want to have this pretty little flower arrangement just to kind of fill in that bottom and give it some balance. So I'm just going to add that with some hot glue. When I'm making these folios, I like to keep in mind, if I'm going to be using some printables from my shop, that I have 9 images. And so if I pick one of them for my focal image, I have 8 left. So if I have 4 pockets, that means I can add 2 for each pocket. So I just went ahead and printed that whole printable. I'll link that at the top of the description if you want to check it out. And I will recommend printing this in the size that it was designed to get them all on one sheet. I have this set on my printer for the least amount of margin that it will allow, and then also I have it set to portrait orientation, so that helps to get these printed images nice and large. So let's put 2 in each of these pockets, and because we have the ribbon closure, these will be nicely secured. So 2 in here, and you can mix and match them as you go, and you can see there's more room here in this pocket for additional flat keepsakes and mementos. So let's just get this tied up, and then we can finish embellishing the cover. My bow tied now, and I did clip off the ends with an angle so that they won't fray. Of course, I want to add my favorite finishing details. Had a couple of hearts here, tied them on string, and I will add this with hot glue and top it with a button. And that will hide those cut strings. And then of course I do want to add a couple of sequins to the other side for balance. And so I'll just pick those up here. I'll add 1 to the image and then 2 to the base just to help further our dimensional quality. If you can see on my arms, I do have quite a lot of goosebumps now. It is pretty chilly down here in our basement in Southeast Michigan. Our temperature last night was -10 as an actual temperature, and then the real feel was -25. So it's pretty chilly down here. And so I'm excited to get this finished and go upstairs and warm up. We have 1 more here on the base. It might be nice if you like some stickles to add that, give a little bit of extra detail for that picture, but I like it just as it is since it's just going to be vintagey. And that's going to be it for our tutorial today. I sure do hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Remember to check in the description for links for that printable and the trim. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.